Merhabalar.
Hello, everyone. Distinguished General Director of Sabancı Foundation, Nevgül Bilsel Safkan, Distinguished President of Sabancı University, Mr. Yusuf Leblebici, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen watching us alive and here in the auditorium. Welcome to the first Purple Certificate Program Gender Equality Awards organized by Sabancı University Gender and Women's Studies Center of Excellence. My name is Duygu Serin. I am a designer and an actress. I am one of the founders of Bitik Tiyatro and I'm doing the designs of Su Gender, so I feel a part of the team here. And tonight, together with my dear colleague, whom I admire and see as a very senior actress, Yeşim Özsoy, and I will be presenting this ceremony. I would like to start by sharing some technical information with you. We have here audience here in the auditorium room, but we will also be having live broadcasting on YouTube for you to follow the program in English. We also have simultaneous interpretation provided in English, and also for the hearing impaired audience we have our sign language interpreter who will be providing Turkish sign language interpretation on YouTube. The award ceremony will take about 2 hours and then we will have a reception. In 2007, the Purple Certificate Program was established by the Sabancı University academics, and it was put into life as a part of the United Nations joint program, and since its establishment it has been supported by the Sabancı Foundation. And the Purple Certificate Program aims to provide training to teachers on gender, inclusiveness, diversity, and intersectionality. For the last 14 years, teachers' trainings have been organized, awareness-raising activities have been organized, and we have the innovative in-class materials prepared by the Purple Folder teams. And together with all these activities, the project aims to provide a gender equality lens to education. And the Purple Certificate Program is proud to be one of the first and oldest programs of Sabancı University Su Gender Center. So the project aims to increase awareness on gender and gender-based violence, and for the removal of in-class gender-based violence, we are trying to make a contribution in different provinces of Turkey. For long years, we have been working through activities inside the classes, and during the pandemic, we have also supported teachers and teacher candidates, and along with the trainings, we provided computer support and assistance to stop regeneration of gender inequality, and we are also collaborating with Sabancı Holding. This year we are organizing the very first Gender Equality Award ceremony, and I would like to share our program with you. First of all, we will have a speech by Nevgül Bilsel Safkan, the director of Sabancı Foundation, followed by the speech of the president of Sabancı University, Mr. Yusuf Leblebici, and we will have dear Hülya Adak, the director of Su Gender, who will give us information about the Purple Certificate Program and the award. After the opening speeches, we will hear from Professor İpek Gürkaynak, on whose name we are presenting an award tonight, and who has been supporting the Purple Certificate Program since its establishment with her participation. After her speech, we will be presenting the İpek Gürkaynak Creative Pedagogy Award and Egalitarian Practices Award, and the teachers who are going to receive the award will be presented with their awards here in the podium. After the presentation of awards, we will also have the distinguished Ayşe Alan, who is a member of our jury and who has been working for different institutions at different positions for long years in the field of integrating gender equality to education, and we will have a panel under her moderation on working on gender equality at school. Before we start our program, I would like to extend our thanks to the Sabancı Foundation, who has been supporting the Purple Certificate Program for the last 14 years, the General Director of the Sabancı Foundation, Nevgül Bilsel Safkan, the President of Sabancı University, Yusuf Leblebici, very dear Professor İpek Gürkaynak, and members of the jury, Aksu Bora, Fatma Gök, Kenan Çayır, Işık Tüzün, and Ayşe Alan. We also would like to thank Ayşegül Altınay, who dreamed of this award and spared no support from us since the time we started designing it. And also, last but not least, we would like to thank the director of Surgender, Hülya Adak. We also would like to thank the entire Surgender team and Begüm Acar especially for sharing their experience with us and for making a great contribution to the organization of this award ceremony. Thank you. Now I will give the floor to my colleague, Yeşim Özsoy. Welcome again. Well, we would like to hear the important contributions of our members on the Gender Equality Awards from people who have supported the Purple Certificate Program since its establishment. I would like to invite first the director of the Sabancı Foundation, Nevgül Bilsel Safkan, to the podium. Distinguished President of the University, distinguished guests, teachers, welcome to the award ceremony, Gender Equality in Education Award ceremony of Purple Certificate Program. It's a great honor for us to be able to host you as the Sabancı Foundation. I would also welcome our participants watching us live on their screens. As the foundation, for the last 47 years, we are working to make sure that all individuals benefit from their rights on an equal basis. And establishing gender equality is one of the founding stones for reaching that aim. And the Purple Certificate Program is very valuable for us because it's one of the most comprehensive and long-lasting effort and project. So it's very valuable for us. What makes Purple Certificate special is that it tries to create gender awareness through teachers. So there is no other example of such an initiative in Turkey. It's very special. This program started about 14 years ago. Maybe you are wondering how it all started. The Sabancı Foundation, together with the United Nations joint program on the protection of women's and girls' human rights, came together, and we started this journey as a component of this program. And throughout the years, in terms of achieving gender equality, we tried to make sure that we transformed the society, and we added on new components to this program. One of the most important dimensions of this program is this evolution that it went through for the last 14 years. Instead of being a program that repeats itself, it opted for being a program that learns constantly, updating and renewing itself on a constant basis. So far, we have many teachers and teacher candidates that participated in the Purple Certificate Program who provided us with valuable feedback regarding their needs, and we took important steps. So this is how the Purple Folder came to life. The teachers and teacher candidates who participated in the trainings provided us with feedback, and to be used in their schools, the materials they needed were developed accordingly after they provided the feedback. Again, In a similar manner, raising awareness about gender equality, we did not want to focus on high school teachers, but also add primary school and secondary school teachers, as well as the teachers from other levels of education. During the pandemic, the trainings were provided on an online basis, and based on the needs, we also provided trainings in different venues. For instance, previously we had some events that took place at the Sakıp Sabancı Mardin City Museum. So we have had very nice examples, and today for the first time ever we're going to present the Purple Certificate Program Gender Equality in Education Award. So this is actually going to make all the steps that were taken throughout the 14 years more visible. Today, we will be listening to the projects of teachers who participated in this program in the previous years and who developed certain practices for a more egalitarian in-class environment. So we will listen to the projects that received the awards. And when looking at those projects, we are happy to say that as the Sabancı Foundation, we support many projects, and the projects that receive awards have some interaction between other programs such as that we support, such as the Best Practices Conference. We are so happy that one teacher was inspired by that Best Practices Conference and developed the materials in the program accordingly. So such concrete and successful examples will inspire us all and increase our motivation for further collaboration and cooperation. The Purple Certificate Program will be guiding for us because it will have an increasing effect, transformative effect on teachers and teacher candidates, and it will give us a perspective for developing a gender perspective in education. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank everyone, especially those teachers who will receive awards today, along with all the teachers who became a part of this program. So on behalf of the Sabancı Foundation, I would like to thank them all. And of course, there is a lot of effort provided by the participating teachers and teacher candidates, along with the participation and contribution of Sabancı University and the Sabancı Foundation. So I would like to thank each and every one of you for your valuable contribution in this journey, especially during the pandemic. Inequalities were deepened, and as I mentioned the inequalities, I have to say that, as you know, every year we measure how many years we have before we put an end to the gender inequality in the world. And because of the pandemic, this process has been delayed for 36 years. But today we're going to talk about positive things because we need this more than ever. So taking this opportunity, I would like to thank everyone who supported the Purple Certificate Program since its inception, namely the President of Sabancı University, Yusuf Leblebici, and all professors working under his leadership. I would like to name a few names here. İpek Gürkaynak, we would like to thank Ayşe Gül Altınay, Sibel Irzık, Nihat Berker, Ayşe Kadıoğlu, Zehra Sayers. We would like to thank them for their valuable contribution, and also we would like to thank our successful director Hülya Adak, who every year further develops the program, our Secretary General Rasim Karas, the entire Sugender team, the trainers of Purple Certificate, and of course, on the occasion of this award ceremony, we would like to thank everyone who made a contribution as the members of the jury. This part might be sounding a little bit long, but people are very important. These are very important names. Only thanks to their great efforts we are able to achieve such wonderful things. So I wish you a very nice event, and I hope you'll enjoy this evening. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nevgün Bilsel Safkan, for your presentation. Now, I would like to invite the President of Sabancı University, Yusuf Leblebici, to the podium to deliver his speech. Yes, distinguished representatives of the education world, distinguished guests, the General Manager of Sabancı Foundation, Nevgül, dear professors, distinguished participants, I would like to welcome you to our event. Before I begin my words, I would like to express that I am representing Sabancı University here, and I'm proud to represent Sabancı University because since its establishment, Sabancı University has been attaching a great deal of importance to gender equality. It has not just been words for Sabancı University, it has been an institution which acted accordingly, and I am proud to be the spokesperson of this institution. I can give you an example. Before coming here, I was a little late. Maybe you have noticed I was stuck in traffic, and if you ask me where I was coming from, I was near the exhibition area, near the Yeşilköy Atatürk Airport. There was the booth of Sabancı University in that exhibition area, and I visited this booth. As you can guess, this is the peak hour of traffic, and I could just make it here. In this industrial fair, our university had their own booth in their own activity field. And in this booth, right now, for example, in materials science and battery technologies, we have Selmia, Professor Selmia, who has valuable work in these areas. Similarly, we have another professor in nanotechnology field. One of the pioneering organizations in Turkey is Sabancı University. The director of that institute is Professor Fazilet, another woman. And the booth appealed to the representatives of the industry very successfully, and our representative in Ankara has a great role to play in this activity. So it was so nice to see all of these participants in that industrial fair. And while visiting the booth of Sabancı University in this fair, I thought for my next event, which is here, so I believe we have surpassed gender equality and we now have a gender superiority as the university. It is really nice to see that it is implemented, and it makes me very happy. With this award program, we are now being the pioneers in another field in Turkey. Gender issues are very important for Sabancı University. I just gave you an example. Because all kinds of discriminations create a big obstacle in front of social development. With this in mind, the principles of our university have been academic freedom, being against discrimination, especially gender discrimination, prevention of domestic violence, and these have been important issues for our university. The first seeds of our Center of Excellence, that is SUGender, were laid down in these years. In 2006-2007 academic year, the Purpose Certificate Program, launched and conducted with high school teachers from different provinces within the framework of the United Nations Joint Program. So this was one of the most important steps on this path. Purpose Certificate and other gender studies resulted in a more formal outcome, Gender Forum, within our university. And in 2015, it was transformed into a Center of Excellence in line with the growth of our university, growth strategy of our university. Today, our university continues to create national and international projects that make a big difference in the field of gender and women's studies. Dear participants, we know that the issue of gender is multifaceted, very long-term and difficult. We know that development in this field can only be made with education. For this purpose, we are working to provide all the necessary educational support for the empowerment of women in social life with our SUGender, Women's Studies Center of Excellence, and our Corporate Governance Forum. We are not content with that. we do even more. We also contribute to special projects in this field internationally. One of the best examples of this is our Gender Equality Action Plan we implemented this year. Since 2019, we have been working on Gender Equality Action Plan, and we are one of the first universities to implement this plan in Turkey. The Gender Equality Action Plan, we can call it GAP, is part of a Gearing Roles project which has been implemented within the scope of the EU Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Programme. As one of the 6 international institutions implementing GAP, we represent Turkey in this project. Sabancı University Center of Excellence for Gender Women's Studies, which is one of the 10 international institutions that is the executive director of the Gearing Roles project, is also among the most important supporters of the creation of GAP. As an institution that attaches great deal of importance to gender equality, both within our research units and academic principles, we see GAP as a new milestone for our university. We are looking at Gender Equality Action Plan as a living project, which we aim to reflect on gender equality at every point of our academic and administrative mechanisms. We believe that our plan, which currently covers a 3-year time frame, will become a transformative tool that renews itself over time and responds to the new needs. This project also makes it clear that we as Sabancı University are working on the steps that can be taken in the field of gender as an institution without freeing ourselves from the whole process. We are also aware that there's a long way to go in this field, both as a society and as the academic world. In this process, important tasks fall upon individuals and institutions. I believe that the Purpose Certificate Program Gender Equality Awards are valuable in this sense. On this occasion, I would like to express my gratitude to both those who worked on the Purpose Certificate Program and our teachers and educators who made the invaluable contributions to raising our children's awareness of gender equality. I also would like to thank the Sabancı Foundation for their for their support and congratulate our educators.
Ben hepinize bu törene katıldığınız için çok teşekkür.
I would like to thank all of you for participating in this ceremony. It's a great happiness for me to see you here, and I would like to congratulate all the award winners. Congratulations and thank you. And we would like to thank Yusuf Leblebici for their presentation. Now, Hülya Adak, the Distinguished Director of SU Gender, will make her presentation. Distinguished President, the representatives of UNESCO National Committee, the General Manager of Sabancı Foundation, distinguished representatives of the education world, dear participants, guests, colleagues, friends, welcome. I would like to talk to you about the road to this award, and I will tell you the 14th year worth of process for the Purpose Certificate. The Purpose Certificate program was first given in 2007 with the joint program of the United Nations by the Sabancı University academics. The first Purpose Certificate program were only covering the 6 provinces covered by the United Nations joint program. Our teachers were from Izmir, Nevşehir, Kars, Van, Trabzon, and Urfa. In 14 years, we reached out to more than 4,000 teachers. And if we take into account their respective students, we were able to reach out to more than 10 million students. The content of the Purpose Certificate and its scope grew up as the years went by and they diversified. Purpose Certificate played an important role in making the center of SU Gender. We started with the Purpose Certificate, then we became a forum, and then finally we became a center of excellence with our gender equality plan as mentioned by our president, SUGender Center of Excellence. In this process, our founding president, Professor Tosun Terzioğlu, our first Secretary General, Hüsnü Paçacıoğlu, our Secretary General who supported the Purple Certificate for a very long time, Haluk Bal, he's here, he's our previous Secretary General, the previous General Manager of Sabancı Foundation, Zerrin Koyunsahan, the first SUGender Director, Professor Sibel Ürzek, Professor Nihat Berker, Professor Ayşe Kadıoğlu, and Professor Zehra Sayers. So all the previous presidents who supported us in the past. Deniz Caylan, who visited a record number of cities. Ayşe Yüksel, who worked for Purple Certificate for a very long time. Olcay Özer and Armağan Yıldız. All these names, I have to thank them. The Purple Certificate was first prepared for teachers and then teacher candidates. There were additional efforts for educational materials. We covered many fields in high school education such as literature, physical education, mathematics, and history. We prepared in-class materials. The purple folders were prepared inspired by the work that we have carried out with the teachers. As the years went by, the Purple Certificate grew up, expanded, and was first supported by the Sabancı Foundation in 2020, and this year in 2021 the UNESCO Turkish National Committee awarded our program in UNESCO Paris Worldwide Award Ceremony for the women and girls education. We wanted to share this award with you today. Purple Certificate is recognized in Turkey and has been shown as a candidate by UNESCO Turkey. We are proud to see that this was the fact. I would like to thank all my colleagues in my team for their efforts, and I also would like to thank UNESCO Turkey for showing us as a candidate for this award. In this ceremony today, the Purple Certificate program has been carried out and has been invited to UNESCO Paris, and we are proud to have Professor Uslu from the National Committee of UNESCO in Turkey. We are welcoming you. The content of Purple Certificate. Our gender work that we carried out by going to the cities were made online during the pandemic. In the past, the process was working in a different manner. We were going to different cities, presenting the program to candidates and teachers. We were getting their applications, and after this process, we were making a selection and giving them a one-week training program. During this pandemic, the program was made online, and it still continues in an online manner. In fact, having online trainings helped some families or some candidates who had trouble in visiting or traveling, who had obligations for their families. So it made their life easier. In a typical education, there are some modules for specific branches that our teachers are working on. For example, in literature, mathematics, or science, we have modules, gender-related modules in these fields. There are also interdisciplinary areas which are falling outside the scope of their own branches. We are able to provide training in these areas also, such as law, violence, harassment, and psychological issues. Teenage psychology. One of the most important modules of the Purple Certificate is the Purple Folders workshops. We've had reading theaters, films, with which we tried to create empathy amongst teachers. They worked on discrimination and inclusivity issues, and we wanted to deepen their work with these supports. We've used the advantage of being in a university. We've given them the chance to meet with different faculty members. We talked to our teachers, and we opened the way to the Purple Certificate and beyond. We were able to bring cutting-edge research to our teachers. With this, we were able to renew our ideas and we were able to keep the program a very dynamic one. We refreshed the knowledge and information of our teachers in these areas. We provided them with exciting experiments that they could offer in their classes. And sometimes we invited speakers and researchers from our university and sometimes from outside the university. So how about the idea giving such an award? How did the idea come about? So let us discuss that too. The Purpose Certificate Program Egalitarian Practices Award will be given first time this year, and we want to strengthen our communication with our graduates of the program, which has been going on for 14 years. Our teachers and candidates, when they go back to their schools, we will continue to monitor their work. We will strengthen the feeling of solidarity, and we will help support their creativity with this award. As the years go by, teachers who were awarded with their certificates continue to tell us their incredible work that they carried out when they went back to their respective cities. We had the dream to award their incredible work. So on this occasion, we wanted to continue dreaming and continue celebrating these new ideas, also some new ideas which are at just the idea level and not implemented yet. We wanted to encourage creative thinking and thinking out of the box. So about gender equality in Turkey, that is the first award that is given in Turkey. So it includes all the educators working in this field and aims to eliminate all inequalities in the classrooms and in schools, and we want to transfer educational area, an area where no one is left behind. So what are the criteria and what are the differences between different awards? We are giving our award in 3 different categories. The first one is human resources and education. Participants have been pioneers in these areas, and the award is given on behalf of our distinguished professor İpek Gürkaynak, who has been a pioneer in the establishment of Purpose Certificate Program. The İpek Gürkaynak Creative Pedagogic Award is given in the area of nonviolent and rights-based pedagogic implementations. The second award is Gender Equality Award. And the purpose is to award efforts that have been implemented at least once in the area of gender equality. And finally, we will give the Purple Seed Award to high potential ideas which have not been implemented and which are at a project level. The applications for these awards aim at contributing to the sustainability of gender equality, measurability, their effect, and innovative effect. These were the criteria that we took into account when selecting the applications. And we wanted to encourage some of the projects by giving our support to Purple Seed Awards. The features of the awards. The first award that I could list is the following. It's the fact that we have supported all of the jury members, and the Purple Certificate team provided positive feedback, constructive feedback to the participants. We wanted to encourage our teachers with this award and with our feedback. We wanted to draw their attention to the points where they have to pay more attention and how to create a higher impact. The second important aspect of the features. During pandemic, they had to be away from their schools and libraries. We wanted them to expand their own library. That's why our awards aim at increasing the number of books, archives, and develop their libraries. And thirdly, we wanted to have digital theater shows, and we want to expand and strengthened their cultural and intellectual accumulation. The plays were digital, therefore they were able to see these plays together with their families or maybe their students. Finally, we want to increase the number of such awards and joint activities. We want to bring together the teachers and students as well as the audiences. We wanted to have these plays in a more accessible manner. That's why we would like to support the digitalization process for these activities. The last part of my speech is dedicated for our thanks. The Purpose Certificate started together with the United Nations Joint Program. Distinguished Güler Sabancı, the chairperson of Sabancı University and Sabancı Foundation Board of Trustees, has supported the Purpose Certificate for 14 years. I would like to extend our gratitude to her. She's really generous, meticulous. She always encouraged us, and we were able to reach out to thousands of teachers as well as millions of students. So we owe this to the vision and support of distinguished Güler Sabancı. Gearing Roles project supported our Gender Equality Action Plan in Sabancı University, and our distinguished president, Professor Yusuf Leblebici, supported the Purpose Certificate and Su Gender's activities. Professor Leblebici was a pioneer in the institutionalization efforts of the GAP. He supported gender equality research activities of our university. That's why we would like to extend our gratitude. Sabancı Foundation supported the project for 14 years. And the general manager of Sabancı Foundation, Nevgül Birsel Safkan, has supported us, and she has been with us in all our efforts and award programs. Also, Ayşegül Bayar and Özlem Pulat are great friends who supported, Burcu Atlı, and all the communication team of the foundation. All the budgeting efforts of Su Gender were prepared by our Secretary General, Rasim Karasan, and we would like to extend our gratitude to him. The communication team of the Sabancı University, who have worked on this event for long weeks, Mutlu Bozkurt, İsimzade, Ömer Ertürk, we would like to thank all of you. Between 2016 and 2019, she was the director of Su Gender, and she has always supported our processes, materials that we prepared for schools and the contents that we prepared. She is always with us actively. My dear friend and colleague Ayşegül Altınay, I would like to thank you.
I also would like to thank İpek Gürkaynak, who has always been guiding us concerning the development of Purpose Certificate. She always took an active role, and in this award process also she was generous to answer all our questions. We also had very nice conversations with her. We would like to have those conversations continue. And also, we would like to thank certain people from other institutions with their ideals, dreams, with their incredibly creative ideas. I'm talking about the members of the jury who helped us have brainstorming activities for long months. So we met online, we exchanged ideas, we made assessments. So I would like to thank our incredible members of the jury. Among the jury members, we have from Boğaziçi University Educational Sciences, Professor Fatma Gök, from Bilgi University Sociology, Professor Kenan Çayır, the director of ERI, Işık Tüzün, a leading name of feminist social sciences in Turkey, Aksu Bora, Ayşe Alan from Enka High School, From Sabancı University, the previous director of Sugender, anthropologist Professor Ayşegül Altınay, and also Aylin Vartanyan from Boğaziçi University, who will serve as the member of jury next year and who made a great contribution to the development of this award this year. Without their support, we would never have this award. I would like to thank all the members of the jury. And the Purple Certificate Program, Purple Folders, the meetings where we invited the teachers with the Purple certificates helped us establish incredible networks, and we were able to apply to international awards such as the UNESCO award. And in all these processes, they were all only possible thanks to my Purple certificate team members. And from the Purple Certificate team, I would like to thank in particular Ceyda Karataş, Nazlı Hazar, İlayda Eceova, and Emirhan Deniz Çelebi, along with our coordinator, Begüm Acar. Your success has been heard at the international platforms, the networks you have established, the meetings you participated, the activities and events you organized reach out to great masses. For the last 14 years, you have been supporting us. And I also would like to thank all the teachers who participated in our programs for the last 14 years. Most recently, we are trying to see what kind of different projects we can have between Sugender and private high schools. The first trainings with Sabancı University initially started in the 2000s at high school level, and starting from 2018 we started to work with teachers from all levels of education, and these trainings turned into trainings at university level. For a long time we provided training to NGOs, and this is still ongoing, and these trainings also impacted the private sector. And now our training coordinator Emirhan Deniz Çelebi helped us establish the Gender Plus program, which has grown a lot in the private sector. It's turned into the first gender diversity, equality and inclusiveness program of Turkey at university level, and starting their work to provide support to us in all fields. And I would also like to thank the Sabancı Holding and Enerjisa Production for their valuable support. Taking this opportunity, we do not only want to present awards to our teachers who have carried out incredible work, but we also want to make sure that we hear the challenges that they face, their struggles, and their extraordinary work. And we also want to create a space where these teachers inspire others and other teacher candidates. So for us, the most important part of this award ceremony is the panel that will be moderated by Ayşe Alan with the participation of teachers who received awards. So we look forward to listening to their experience that inspires us. And I also would like to thank, on behalf of the team, our hosts tonight, actress Duygu Serin and Yeşim Özsoy. Thank you for being here. We would like to thank distinguished Hülya Adak for her speech. Well, we have Professor İpek Gürkaynak, who honored us by her participation in this program, in this award ceremony, and she has been a pioneer in Turkey in terms of human rights education, and for the field of education to turn into a rights-based non-violence field. And she received her education in the field of psychology and social psychology, both in Turkey and US, and in many different universities she worked as an academic and administrator, and she carried out different projects both for children and adults in the international organizations in the field of rights. And between 2000 and 2005, she was actually the United Nations Human Rights Education Decade National Committee member, and she is also a member of the steering committee of the Education Reform Initiative, and she is also a founder of Gürkaynak Citizens Institute. So On the occasion of this award ceremony, we will be hearing our distinguished professor İpek Gürkaynak, and we are extremely happy for that. The floor is yours. Thank you so much, dear colleagues. I hope you are hearing me and seeing me, because I am joining this session online from Biga. I hope everything is okay. Well, the previous speakers mentioned my name, used nice adjectives, so I would like to thank all the colleagues who mentioned my name. Well, the Purple Certificate decided to present such an award this year, and I believe this is incredibly valuable. I'm so happy to see this initiative. Well, I was asked to deliver this speech, and one of the awards is going to be given on my name, and it's a great honor for me. And the organization presenting the award is an organization that I have been supporting since day one. I have been monitoring, following, or even sometimes becoming part of their projects, all their projects, and throughout the years I had the honor to work with that organization, and of course its members who are at different ages, but all of them are younger than me. So this is an organization that includes all these people, so it's particularly valuable for me to attend this award ceremony. So the Purple Certificate really has a very important place in my heart. I just want you to know that it's very dear to me. So I have 15 minutes, and the topic is a very vast and comprehensive one. The issue of gender and gender equality is a very deep and comprehensive issue in itself, and tackling this issue from the perspective of schools and education is even more comprehensive. And I can't do much in 15 minutes. Even if I had 15 hours, I wouldn't be able to tell you much. There is a lot to do, but in terms of timing, it's not enough, of course. I set my alarm. I'll try to abide by my time limit. By the way, I will just stop when my time is up, even though my speech is not finished. That's how I would like to proceed. By the way, there is nothing that I will regret not being able to say, because this speech will be a speech whereby I will just touch upon a few important concepts. I have a title for this speech because I have limited time. As I had a very short time, I wanted to have a very long title for my speech. I will read it out loud. Being aware of the gender-based discrimination, which sometimes explicitly intervenes in our lives, which sometimes subtly infiltrates our lives, and awareness is not enough. We should get angry and take responsibility. That's the title of my speech, a long one. Maybe it will help us think about this topic, and it will broaden some horizons. I will start by talking about two cartoons, three cartoons actually, two from Piyale Madra and one from Behiçak. The first cartoon of Piyale Madra, we see a man and a woman. The man says, "Oh, empathy? Where do you learn such weird things?" Then the woman responds, "I just want you to put yourself in my shoes." And the man responds, "What are you talking about? I'm a man, I'm a man." So the other cartoon is drawn by Behiçak. We see a woman with her daughter going to a bookstore, and she says, "I want a pink girl's book for my daughter, and for me, I want the book called End to Gender Discrimination." Well, you might say, well, that wouldn't happen. It's not possible. It's the same woman uttering two sentences consecutively that are in such a huge conflict. It's not possible, you might say. Well, it is possible. And she's not even aware of the dilemma or the conflict in what she says in her words, but I say it's even possible for a woman to spend her entire life without even realizing the dilemma. The other cartoon of Piyale Madra depicts a woman feeding a baby, constantly giving food to the baby. By the way, I'm reading from here. The woman says to her baby, my daughter will eat her food, she will grow up, she will go to school, she will make her own money, she will be independent, she will be standing on her 2 feet, she will be a girl who knows what she wants, and she will live her life as she wants freely, and she will decide everything for herself. In the next picture, we see the baby girl saying, okay, I'm full. That's enough, finish, I won't eat anymore. Then the last picture depicts a scene where nobody is speaking anymore, but we see the mother with eyebrows crossed, and she's very angry, and she is just raising her hand like this. I don't know if you can see my hand. Well, at least picture a furious mom in your minds. So, can you imagine a mother who is not letting her own baby to decide on something that is totally about the baby's own physiology? She cannot even tolerate the baby being full and not wanting to eat anymore. Do you think she would be sincere in what she has been saying before? So we have all these hollow concepts based on which we act. So people think they mean what they say, but it's not the case, because they pretend to be somebody else. This brings me to the concept of doing something pretendingly. It's just an eroded concept, a shallow, a makeshift concept. What is done pretendingly is intolerable. Please never accept it, never tolerate it, and know that this is an injustice done to everyone, because that is what it is. Because doing something pretendingly is against doing something to the fullest, as it should happen, by paying attention to the subtleties, doing something in an internalized way. It's just the opposite of this. Just to give you an example about this doing something on a pretendingly basis. We had a school where we had been working with teachers for a long time about the students' rights. I went to the school one day and I came across a teacher who opened the door of a classroom, and the teacher told me, we are addressing the issue of children's rights and participation of children, and here you see a paper on the board or on the door of the classroom. We have the classroom rules written on that paper, and it's the students who came up with those rules. They set up those rules, and I was so happy. I was just reading the rules written on the paper. Rule number 1 said, we will not upset our teacher, we will not make noise in the classroom, we will not run around in the corridors, so many other things. And the last rule, which was the most incredible one for me, was that we will not talk at all in the classroom. Well, what we were trying to do at that school through the trainings we provided was just the opposite. We were telling the teachers that noise should come out of the classrooms, that we should have discussions whereby everyone should freely raise their opinions, and we were talking about the methods of doing that. So we see that student participation was done in a pretendingly manner in that school. They were pretending as if the students were participating. So the second concept I would like to talk about is one concept that the people will, that people who know me will guess actually. It's about the concept of being penetrated into your bones. All these stereotypes, biases, prejudices, they penetrate into your bones. And we have a concept called cognitive bias. It's all about understanding, remembering, and only focusing on the negative things and maybe exaggerating the negative things. So this is an unconscious bias. You are biased, but in an unconscious manner. For instance, some people think they really understand other people. That's not the case. You cannot understand everyone. This is just a bias, a prejudice. If you think you can see through a person, you are not really doing that. It's just your bias. For instance, we have the self-fulfilling prophecies. It all starts with a prophecy, and because of our own behavior and acts, it fulfills itself. And we never realized that the process happened in that way because we acted in a certain way, and we never realized. And at the end, we always say, yes, I had guessed that this would happen. By the way, I can't go into the details of all these concepts. I'll just touch upon them briefly. If you're interested, you can maybe just look them up. So, the most important question for me is that, including gender-based discrimination, all types of discrimination somehow really penetrates into our bones. We can talk for hours and hours, but I just want to say that the society, whenever it has the chance, would bring about certain issues in front of us that we're not able to realize sometimes. Things that we would interpret in a negative way, or that would further strengthen the already existing biases we have. On which occasions, for instance? On course textbooks, for instance, the books published by the History Foundation of Turkey, all those human rights issues and discrimination issues addressed in textbooks published in different years. These types of discriminations and biases are present all the time. There is important research about this that identifies all these sentences of discrimination. Then we have the written press and visual press that is full of such biases. I'll give an example from a newspaper article. It was a bank advertisement, full page. There was a piggy bank with a boy and a girl. They were holding their piggy banks in their hands as well. These two children were dressed up in a very traditional way. And it says on the advertising that we have been in the banking sector for such and such years. We have given piggy banks to children, and these two kids will be able to buy the toys they want. For instance, Aisha, she will buy the baby doll she has dreamed of for long years, and Ali, the boy, will buy the bicycle that he has dreamed of without having the need to go to their parents for money. So that's what the advertising said. I still use this ad in all my trainings. Most recently, a few months ago, I used it because in all communication trainings, I always somehow talk about gender and gender-based discrimination. I ask people, what is it that could have been improved in this ad, newspaper ad? People look at it and they can't identify anything wrong. Then I say, I'll tell you. To improve this ad, for instance, instead of imposing the doll to the girl and bicycle to the boy, it would have been better. And the moment I say this, always at least one person from the group answers, what do you mean? professor. Would it be better if they say, Ayşe will get a bicycle and Ali will get a doll? And my response is that, yes, it would be very nice if that was the case. But from the way you say, I think you would mind having it happening that way. Think about other things. Other lines for this ad, for instance, other messages. For about 3 minutes, we tend to look at each other with the trainees, and I suggest later that Ayşe and Ali will get the bicycle that they have been dreaming of. Wouldn't it be better? I ask the group, and then the group always says, oh, I never thought about it. Well, that's the problem anyway. You never think about it. This discrimination is seen as something natural and expected. We have this series of impressions or this information that has penetrated into our bones that this is not discrimination. I always talked about what people have done, like newspaper ads, cartoons, etc. But do not think that we don't have any people who are sensitive about gender equality and who are not using this discriminative language. Don't think like that, because even those people can use such discriminatory language. Even I, if I am to speak about myself, I was in a way finding myself in certain situations where I had to come to my senses in my trainings, including the trainings of Purple Certificate, meaning that once I uttered something, I immediately realized that it was actually a very discriminatory, gender-based, it was a sentence containing gender-based discrimination, and I was, when I came to my senses, when I had an epiphany, I was so ashamed realizing what I said. But I always say that I am a brute when saying this, and I have to come to my senses, and maybe the people listening to me will learn to not to do those things. I have to realize this. So if we can realize that there is discrimination, and if we can disseminate this awareness, this is also important. And this is the third concept that I would like to talk about. You, as people with women with more with Purple Certificate, you have the best, you are in the best position to be able to learn and disseminate your learnings, and you should do that, because if you do it, you will be able to remove the barriers in front of gender equality, not one by one, but by 5 by 5 or 10 by 10. Maybe this thing that I said is not my sentence. I just heard it somewhere, I think, when I was preparing for this speech. If somebody else has already said this, doing something like 5 by 5 or 10 by 10, I would like to apologize for not making a reference to them. So as teachers, we have to think about what we do, think about how we do it, have some self-criticism, and coming to your senses and having these epiphanies is your job. There is an American educator that I really like, Nell Noddings, says, our inner eye should also look and see ourselves from time to time as teachers. So we have to criticize ourselves as well, he says. Yes, and the last concept I would like to talk about is the concept of having a voice. I was watching, I heard a women parliamentarian at BBC World in 2015, I heard this member of the parliament saying, I was given a voice. Well, she says this because she was a parliamentarian, right? I was given a voice, and if I don't use that voice, and if I don't scream out when necessary, I would be misusing my position and neglecting my duty. I think this is very nice. Misusing your duty. She says not using the voice she has been given is a misuse of power. In the same way, as teachers, you have been given a voice. Well, it's not just granted to you, but you worked hard to get that voice. So please use it. Use that voice, and when necessary, scream out loud. Even more, you should also teach your students to have a voice, to raise their voice, and you should give them the opportunity to raise their voices, to be heard, so that they will get feedback for their opinion, so that they will learn to listen, understand, hear other people's opinions, so that they will be more aware, they will be wiser, and they will have a more comprehensive voice. Just a footnote here. People who hold the positions of authority might impose certain things to you, some roles, values. When you are in a place to accept what is imposed upon you, you develop what we call as a dependent identity. So you are, in a way, mortgaging the identity of the person in front of you, and you have to listen to their voice, respect their voice. I'm not talking about listening to someone as if you are listening to them, pretendingly. No, taking that voice seriously, trying to listen to that voice and do whatever that voice tells you. So, independent actors know the ways of having a voice, raising their voices. This is an important skill, and the educational process might play an important role for developing that skill, and education might also prevent that skill from being developed. Sometimes I have to emphasize certain things because I'm trying to share thoughts that are dear to me, that are important to me. I also would like to share something that I have seen in an old article of mine, and then I'll wrap up. I wrote, maybe we already knew what people were talking about, maybe we already had an idea that those things were necessary, but the most important thing is to have the willingness to do something about this, to take action, and to dare to do something, to make an effort, to spare some energy about this, and to have the necessary and required information and skills, and also to be courageous and bold enough to do whatever it takes to be equipped with those skills. And it has been emphasized previously, we also need to seek the support of our colleagues, benefit from their own experiences, and we need to make sure that they also benefit from our own observations and experience. So, you are very well equipped, you are very well motivated. I do not doubt at all that you have the necessary enthusiasm. You are holders of the purple certificate. You will fulfill the requirements of holding this certificate, I'm sure, as you do so by fulfilling the requirements of being a teacher. Sometimes you might think you are digging a well with a needle. If you ever feel like that, I have some advice for you. Yes, you are digging a well with a needle. That's what we're doing. But in front of the well, we have tens and hundreds and thousands and millions of people holding.
Evet, konuşması için.
Yes, we'd like to thank distinguished Professor İpek Gürkaynak for her speech. Now we would like to present awards to our award winners. Completed the Purpose Certificate Program in 2020 and the Philosophy teacher in Sparta, Büşra Bayram. Worked on inequality in movies and songs, and that's how she obtained the Egalitarian Award. In this work, she wanted the students to notice the sexist expressions in the movies and plays that they played. So she wanted to bring a critical point of view at a very young age. Now, I would like to invite Uslu from the National Committee of UNESCO to present the award to our dear professor.
projesiyle Eşitlikçi Uygulamalar Ödülünü kazanan 2017 Mor Sertifika Programı Öğretmen Okulu katılımcısı Zeynep Alay İstanbul'da Türkçe öğretmeni olarak görev yapıyor. Görsel iletişim ve biçimlendirme, kültürel miras, sanat eleştirisi ve estetiği, toplumsal cinsiyet ile bir araya getiren çalışma, farklı branşlara da uygulanabilir oluşuyla yeni çalışmalara alan açmayı hedefliyor.
So, wants to open up the horizon for new efforts. Nevgül Birsel Safkan is invited to the podium to deliver the award to our dear teacher. Zeynep Alay. Thank you. And the last award. Graduated from a Purpose Certificate in 2015 and working currently in Kayseri, Selin Senger participated with her work called A Letter to My Youth, and she obtained the İpek Gürkaynak Creative Pedagogy Award. In her work, Senger brings together women and young students who were forced to quit their education because of young marriage. Aims to prevent marriage at an early age and raise awareness of families and students with her project. We would like to invite Professor Yusuf Leblebici, the president of Sabancı University, to present the award to our distinguished teacher. Yes, Selin Senger.
Bütün ödül alan öğretmen ve öğretmen...
Now we would like to congratulate all the teachers and teacher candidates who have received an award. In the second part of our meeting, we have a panel, a very important panel, and Ayşe Alan from our jury will moderate the panel, and we will continue with the panel after a 5-minute break. Thank you.
Şimdi ödülü tasarlama sürecinden itibaren bize
destek verip aynı zamanda jürimizde yer alan Ayşe Alan
Ayşe Alan has always supported us since the inception of our program, and she supported us. So we will begin our panel about gender equality in schools. I invited Ayşe Alan to the podium to moderate the panel, and now I would like to invite Selin Sengir, Zeynep Alay, and Büşra Bayram, our teachers who have been awarded.
Hoş geldiniz. Sesim geliyordur umarım. Merhabalar tekrar.
Hello everyone. I would like to first of all congratulate my colleagues here. I am very happy that you got these awards because as everyone who's watching you from their screens, I'm very excited for you. The title of our panel is Gender Studies in Schools. Now we talked about the prejudices and stereotypes, and she said that Professor Gürkaynak said that these prejudices are affecting us to our bones. I was really impressed with that expression, having this impact in our bones. For us teachers, this means school, because we spend most of our lives in schools. And about gender equality, we experienced a lot of inequalities in these areas because schools take a lot of space in our lives. We started our journey in school at the age of 7. So we become social beings, learn about some general ideas and some inequalities at school. And after completing our school, we started to experience the same in our schools as professionals. So on the one hand, we are being transformed. On the other hand, we start to transform other people when we become teachers. We interact with our colleagues, other teachers. We interact with our students, and most importantly, our standards transform us. So there is a bilateral interactive environment. That's why the title of our panel is Gender Studies in School. It doesn't exist in curricula right now. And as Professor Hülya mentioned, we have to overcome all the frontiers. We have to spend efforts and spend extra hours at work for these purposes. So it's important to start with this perspective in mind. I also would like to elaborate on our panel. How should or how can a teacher be motivated in their journey for gender equality? Let's start with you. So, for my process, and if I were to explain my motivational resources to you, I could say the following. In the area that I am working, there were a lot of people who got married at an early age. They were at school age but couldn't continue their schools. We had such students, and this was my first motivation because I did not want my students to be part of this behavior, which was an erroneous cultural behavior. So we talked to the parents, and what the women have said in our talks with them was an inspirational source for me. They talked about their own challenges when they got married at an early age. And as individuals who got married at an early age had a lot of experiences, and I wanted to bring them together with my students. This was my first motivation. So determining, identifying the problem and coming up with a project was what you did. Yes, that's very nice. Thank you. Professor Zeynep. So my motivation started back in college. When I was a college student, I was interested in gender issues and I wanted to work on these issues. I was following up all the activities, all the events in this area, and after my education was completed, I started working in my current school. And I saw that my students had these problems and I saw they were being isolated and they did not have a chance to recognize the world that they were living in, especially with the pandemic. I wanted to expand their worldview, so my motivation was my students to see their steps that they were taking. Thank you. If I'm not wrong, I believe this was a visual arts project. Actually, you are a Turkish professor and you are working on this visual arts project. Yes, I'm a teacher of Turkish language, but I was participating in visual arts classes, and when I was in college, I had learned how important it was to have interdisciplinary work. I had seen many nice projects about that. So this interdisciplinary work was really good for me, and I was proud to see the work of my students. Professor Bushra. Thank you. Since a very early age, I was always asking the question, why? And I was trying to break the vicious circles in our society. So my family thought that the girls should be sent to school no matter what. And they believed in an equal status for the girls. That was what they taught me. So I had a high motivation in that sense. In college, I studied sociology and social studies. In many of the works that I did, I participated in similar activities, and I wanted to see and show that in my own practice. As dear İpek has said, I had the motivation to spread out my knowledge. My specialization is philosophy, and we wanted to focus in the area of philosophy. We first described what gender was. We talked about sexuality and gender issues. We described these themes. We had many projects. Digital inequalities, equality issues are some of the projects that we did. And then inequality in songs and films was the title of my project that I was awarded with. And we worked on creating awareness with this project. So my motivation is my whole life story. Thank you very much. We have now teachers from 3 different areas: counseling, Turkish language, and philosophy. But they are not only active with their own areas, but with other areas also. They have encompassed and surpassed their own activity areas. Here my question is the following. How about your other colleagues, other staff members working in the school? How was your experience in working with students? What about the positive and negative things that you had? The students were very important to me. Let me briefly talk about my project. Individuals who had an early age marriage were asked to write a letter to their youth when they were married. We wanted them to write a letter, and we prepared a book about that. So our students were very important, were critical in this project. They went out, they walked out on the streets, they got in touch with the women, they explained our projects, and they collected our letters. The cover was designed by our teachers. The digital project was carried out by our students. Even on their holidays, they worked on our project. So my students were very important for me. Also my colleagues, some of them found that this was very meaningful and important, and they used our book as a course material in their classes. And at the end, I looked at the feedback that I got from other students outside of my project. We were having a group talk. We were sitting in a circle and doing brainstorming about our book. We were reading all the letters, and I was asking if they remembered something, if they thought of something when they read this letter. They were always remembering their own families, thinking about their own families, the fact that their parents got married at an early age, and how this wrong cultural behavior affected their family life. So the reactions of our students were very meaningful in that sense. So I had positive feedback in general. positive feedback in general, yes. So your students were also highly motivated. If not, you couldn't have completed this project, yes. Still, my project, when I shared it with my colleagues, I have never come across any negative prejudices from my colleagues. But when I told them I could share my project with them, they said, oh no, it's too hard to implement. But in general, they really liked it and they supported it. And with students, what happened was as follows. You know, we had remote teaching during the pandemic. I didn't know if they knew each other. I didn't know if they were able to express themselves because of the remote training. Because as you know, online classes were limited with 30 minutes. And it wasn't easy to know your students during these 30 minutes. So the moment I start to ask questions, I thought people would come up with many ideas. But when I first asked my first question, they were all silent because in their daily lives they were not used to being asked these questions. They don't talk to anybody, let alone this subject, but not on any other subject. They were not asked their opinion. So I had to work on that. I wanted them to overcome this challenge, and I spent most of my class for introductory activities and for warm-up activities. But then after, I got good feedback from my students. To this day, they come to me and they ask for other projects. They want to know when the next project will be done. So in general, I have to say I had very good feedback from my students. So this reminds us of something very nice and important. When we work together with our students, it's not only gender issues, but it's kind of a democratic environment for them. And once they start doing that, they start to bring some other problems to the classroom, and they want to bring other issues other than the gender issues. So thanks for reminding that us. We have Dilara Kılçık, our psychological advisor, counselor. And I told her we should talk about gender equality in our school. I was really supported by our administrators in the school. And then we decided to organize an activity in the school. We've had many previous events at our school. We had other awareness-raising events. This year, we wanted to work with our 9th and 10th graders. And I worked with the 10th graders and Dilara worked with 9th graders. This was a joint study. What we did was the following. We showed them some movies, scenes from movies and some songs. These were very important because also we did not want to trigger their traumas, so we had to be very selective. Then we got their opinion about these movies or songs. Well, of course, we had some technical problems because we had to do everything online. They were participating from their tablet, but sometimes they did not want to turn on their sound. But in general, we had good feedback. The gender area is accepted as a normal thing in our daily life. And sometimes students don't even recognize the fact that they are subject to gender inequality. And our purpose was to create awareness. We wanted to notice when they were subject to these inequalities. Some of the students said, "What's wrong with this scene?" And they brought another opinion to the table. And we wanted to explain why this was wrong and why, in fact, this was sexist. And in general, we had good feedback from our students. So you have used this term, letting them know that this is wrong. Did they like this term? Yes. They really liked it. You know, they like the fact to use daily terms. They don't want to use some academic terms. So we wanted to show them that we were there for them. And it's better to speak their language if you want to do it. And now they come up to me and they say that they saw something wrong, and they would notice that this was actually wrong. I had another question. I wanted to ask you if you got stuck at some areas. But I see that according to your experience, you had good feedback from your students. Maybe some colleagues might be problematic. But again, going back to the name of our panel, how does a teacher start working on gender issues in a school? I believe it would be nice to share that. So based from your experience and everything you read, everything you thought, and your experiences, please take that into account and tell us how a teacher should start their work on gender issues at school. So for my behalf, a project or a research always starts with a problem. First, you have to define the problem. So teachers should not look far, and they have to turn their eyes to their own school and their own environment. Students at their school, families, parents of these students, they have to connect to their close surroundings. They should see the needs in terms of social gender issues in their own school. What are the missing things in my own school, and what would create the highest impact? My issue was like that, and this was a problematic area in my own school. Also, they should participate in these programs like Purple Certificate. They should also do a lot of readings, so they can transform this raw material into a product if they did that. I think, as Selin said, in order to have a program, you have to define your problem. After you find the source of that problem, you will need certain tools, and for that you will need to undergo a meticulous study phase. When I was in college, I was seeing the work of Bilgi University. They have a very nice source that they published for children. There are human rights issues in that resource. And there are also games that they prepared. I like really one of these plays. So it's one of the games that I really like to play with my students. Maybe teachers can start with these as the first resources. And also ERG and Teachers Network were very important for me. They have stories, monitoring reports that they publish every year, and the best practices conferences that they organize every year were very important resources for me. And one of their conferences was my first inspirational resource. And the Teachers Network carries out a lot of efforts, and as Dr. İpek Gürkaynak said, we are digging a well with the needle, and that's similar to that. As teachers, we sometimes feel ourselves alone when we graduate, and it's nice to meet in that Teachers Network with other teachers. I benefited a lot from the work of Teachers Network. I also want to say that there's an issue of the publication published by my colleagues, Muhammed Atalay. There are dedicated issues of this periodical magazine to the issue of gender. And I have looked at these issues over and over again. They were an inspirational resource for me. So I recommend all my colleagues who are starting to work on this issue to read these. Thank you. What I understand from your words is the following. As teachers, we look at concepts. Sometimes we learn this in our colleges, but sometimes we read books and we participate in programs like Purple Certificate. We learn these concepts, and then these learned concepts enable us to see more than that. This opens up our horizons. When we start to work with these concepts, we start to notice problems in books, for example. And secondly, it is important to stand hand in hand with our colleagues. We have to learn each other, learn from each other, and support each other. Thank you. Büşra. What my colleagues have said is very important. I think we have to start from the fact that we need to be well equipped in the gender area. Gender area is very important. The more a teacher learns in this area, the more they will be prone to help, because we are the first role models for our students. Our behaviors will be as important as the words that we utter. We have to use an egalitarian language, which is very important. So first of all, we have to equip ourselves with the best possible means. We participated in many trainings. We obtained the Purple Certificate. We got training programs. So what our teachers have taught us was very important. That's where we can start. And my beginning point was my course books. The fact that we didn't have many female philosophers was an important starting point for me. So you can see that as a gender issue. All the teachers have to be knowledgeable about their own respective field, should find the sexist expressions, sexist terms used in their own books. So we are working together with our students, but we need to get the support of the parents. It's really important also to get the support from the administration of the school, because students represent their household, their families. Therefore, it's really important to cooperate with the families. If they are subject to discriminative behavior, they will reflect that in the school also. Our words, our behaviors should make us good role models for our students. Yes, being a role model is very important. Also, the importance of the materials that the teachers are using. We have to be critical of these. As a philosophy teacher, you have looked in philosophy books and you haven't found many female philosophers. That's where you started your work. And Ipek also mentioned the same. Being a teacher has many advantages. We have access to even these bad materials. We can use these bad materials as a means to show the students what's wrong with them. In a book about social sciences, the subject was the importance of savings. There were two examples from men and women. Let's call the lady Ayşe. Ayşe is a common name in Turkey, and Ayşe has a pocket money given to her, and she's using this pocket money to buy something for her child, and the husband saves money from his salary to buy a car. So this is an example from a course book. The teacher will show this to the child and ask whether the child sees a problem in here, and this would trigger the issue of gender equality. And as the teachers, we have the chance to bend these materials, and I'm glad that we have this chance. So for closing remarks, I want to say that this award is important for us. This certificate is important for us. We are grateful that we've had this award, because otherwise we couldn't meet with you. And we hope that these awards and these events will continue so that we can learn from each other continuously. Thank you.
Evet.
Buyurun.
Galiba kapatıyoruz bu
Evet,
akşam.
beraber kapatalım.
Çok teşekkür ederiz. eğitimde
Closing. So we've come to the end of our Gender Equality in Education Awards ceremony. We would like to extend our gratitude to everyone who supported us in this process and is here with us today. Thank you to all our students, teachers. Thanks for being here with us today.
evet, bu kadar.
That's all. Good evening.